All right. Um, Hello, everyone. I hope that you are doing all right, staying safe and healthy and all that. I'm in the process of giving you feedback on the thesis statements that you shared on our discussion board. For one of my classes, I think I'm completely done giving feedback. Another one, it's I'm still working on it, but very soon you should have some feedback on the thesis statements that you provided. Um, and you're more than welcome to follow up with me if you want to make some changes to your thesis and then have me look at it again. I'm happy to do that. But I wanted to go over some general tips for writing thesis statements because I saw some things that were pretty consistent across a lot of what people came up with. So my first thing is to make sure that it's actually a statement. So a thesis should never be a question. In fact, it can't be a question. If you have a question that is standing in for your thesis, it's not actually a thesis. A thesis needs to be a statement of what you are going to be arguing or what you're going to be demonstrating, proving, addressing. You can think of it in pretty much any of those ways. Um, Now, what you can do is a good way to come up with a thesis is to start with a question that you want to answer, and then through your brainstorming or research or collecting your thoughts, drawing on your own personal experiences, you can provide an answer to that question, which then can be your thesis. I think pretty much everyone has started with a research question for this project. And then after doing your research, you hopefully have found an answer to that question. So the answer to your research question can be your thesis, but you need to make sure that it is a statement. The next tip is to make sure that you keep it concise. I saw some people who sent paragraphs essentially, and maybe you were just doing that to help provide me with some extra context and stuff. But when it comes time to turn in your paper, make sure that you can very clearly identify which part of your paper is your thesis. Um, if you, if someone asks you, what is your thesis statement? You should be able to find it and identify it easily and quickly. Um, so if you're not exactly sure what your thesis statement is, definitely take some time to think about that. Um, and you want to make sure that it's on the shorter side. A thesis statement should usually be 1 to 2 sentences. And the main reason for that is the more that you cram into the thesis, the more that you have to prove. I like to think of thesis statements as being sort of like contracts between me and my reader. Whatever I say in my thesis, I am then obligated to prove that. So the more things you say, the more work you're going to have to do to make sure that you are proving all of those different things. So usually it behooves you to keep your thesis statements a little on the shorter side if you can. Um, the flip side of that is that it also is harder for your reader to follow along. If you have, three, four, five, six separate things going on in your thesis, it's going to be trickier for your reader to connect all those things together and make sense of what overall you are trying to do. My third tip is to keep it specific. And so this typically deals with your language usage. You want to avoid using words that are unclear or ambiguous. And you also want to make sure that any words that you choose, that you really understand what those words mean and that they mean the exact thing that you want them to do. Because if you pick a word that you're not entirely sure what it means, or it's close to what you want to say but not exactly, you're inviting your reader to interpret things differently than you are. So as much as you can, you want to be very careful about how you word things and about the meanings that your words convey. And as a part of that, the more specific that you can be in your thesis statement, the easier it's going to be for your reader to understand what exactly you are claiming. And then my last tip for you, at least for now, you will sometimes need to qualify your thesis. And I think we've talked about a lot of these things in class, but it's probably helpful to have a little bit of a refresher. Um, when you claim something, when you argue something, and not just in papers, this is true in anywhere in life really. You will usually not be right 100% of the time in 100% of all circumstances. So it's helpful a lot of times both to enhance your credibility and also just to make things clearer for your reader if you let them know, okay, I my claim is accurate in X, Y, and Z circumstances. Or, I'm going to be arguing this, and I'm not going to be talking about this. So that is, I usually wouldn't worry about qualifying your thesis until you have a pretty strong thesis to begin with. In fact, I would probably follow these tips in the order that I have given them. But the last thing you want to do, think about, is my thesis actually true all the time? And if it's not, you may want to specify when your statement is going to be accurate. You don't always need to do that in the thesis itself. A lot of times, what you'll see writers do is they will have a thesis statement in their intro, and then before they kind of really dive into their argument, they'll spend some time um, qualifying what their argument, providing some context, defining terms, things that they're going to be talking about. So you don't need to cram all of that into your intro or into your thesis, but it is a good thing to keep in mind. So those are four, probably my four best tips for you. Um, Hopefully those are helpful. Again, if you want me to take another look at your thesis statement, I'm more than happy to do that.